I see a lot of conservatives sharing this story right now, and I wanted to talk about it. It's about a woman who tried to buy a firearm from Walmart twice and was unable to. Shock. The most important thing to be said about this story is that a journalist didn't understand anything about firearms and thought it was a story to go to Walmart and try and buy one. I'll tell you why it's significant. It shows you the media doesn't understand conservatives. That should be alarming. This story would never exist in a conservative outlet. Why would the Washington Examiner write a story about what conservatives know? Buying a gun isn't always easy. I shouldn't say always easy. There are steps to be taken. Easy or hard is an opinion. So it is not a simple process to just go and buy a gun. Liberals don't get this, so they end up showing up to Walmart thinking they can just do it, and they think it's a news story to do it. Here's the most important thing, however. This woman did an incredible job, and I applaud her for this story, and it is extremely important that she did this story. I don't like the fact that conservatives are dragging her for it, because this is what a journalist should do. While it shows you they don't understand the perspective of conservatives, it shows you that somebody who doesn't understand this wants to make sure those who don't understand it understand it. More liberals need to do this. More Democrats, more people on the left need to explain the process of buying a firearm. Going and showing how it's done. People are saying like, haha, she thought she could buy a gun and she had no idea. It's like, right. So isn't it a good thing she took the time to learn and then shared that experience with the left? One of the most annoying things to me in the gun debate, because I am a moderate on the issue. I understand the Second Amendment. I think it is very important, and it's a very powerful statement in and of itself. Who's going to invade a country with 4 million guns in it? Yeah, good point. We are a strong nation because of it. But I do recognize we have problems, and we need to have a conversation about it. That doesn't mean we ban weapons. That doesn't mean we ban firearms. It means we need to have a conversation, and we need to bring everyone to the table. The most annoying thing to me, though, is that whenever I talk to people on the left, they don't know anything about guns, man. And conservatives know it. Absolutely know it. There was a meme going around where Kamala Harris said she was going to ban the importation of AR-15s, and it's like, these weapons aren't imported. They're made in America. And I'm pretty sure, is Armalite an American company? I think she was talking about AR-15 specifically. There are weapons that are, firearms that are made in other countries, of course. Sweden exports a ton of weapons. The point is, how are we supposed to have a debate on effective plans for stopping, mass shootings and gun violence when one side of the coin doesn't even know how buying a gun works? And that's why I applaud this woman. It's an excellent story. And it shows somebody who was ignorant of an issue, who wanted to figure it out and document her experience. And she deserves tremendous credit for this, for challenging her assumptions and learning something, acknowledging her mistake, and then sharing it with others who don't know. We need more of this. This is good journalism. I applaud this. Let's read the story. So, Haley Peterson writes, I tried to buy a firearm at Walmart twice, and roadblocks left me empty-handed both times. She says, let me zoom in a little bit. The availability of firearms, I'm saying firearms on purpose because I don't want to say the G word because Google will derank me, at Walmart has become a hotly debated issue in the wake of 2 deadly events at its stores that killed 24 people. More than 128,000 people have signed a petition urging Walmart to stop selling them and take a stronger stance against them since the events that we just saw. The company said it has no plans to stop. First, she says that she went to Walmart with the intention of buying a gun last week as part of an investigation into placement, selection, marketing, and security in Walmart stores and learn more about the retailer's process governing gun sales. My journey to bring a firearm home from Walmart turned out to be far more complicated than I expected. Now, conservatives and moderates totally get it. I know people who are very moderate and even left-leaning. I think Joe Rogan is pro-gun. Right? So he's somebody who totally understands it's not that easy, but he's a very left-wing dude, right? They exist. And so there's misconceptions. She thought she could just go get it. Sorry. First, she goes online and she couldn't even find if the store sold them or not. Yeah, it's not that easy. She says she searched Walmart.com to try and find out which of the 10 stores near her sold them, and she couldn't come up with any answers. She says that the only ones that were advertised are air guns. I figured that employees at any one of Walmart stores near me would know which locations sold firearms. I was wrong. Over an hour and a half, I placed more than a dozen calls to multiple stores, waited on hold for a combined 40 minutes, and got through to a human only 3 times. 3 Walmart employees told me they didn't know which stores sold guns in the area. I said the G word. There it is. Boom. Video deranked. Nobody will watch it. Yeah, I swear to God, it's going to happen. So if you'd like to support my work, because I didn't do the plug, share the video. Just share this video because, listen, this is a story about a woman who didn't understand how firearm sales worked. And she did the investigation and she learned something. Something very important for people on the left who don't understand this. Share the video if you like it because I'm getting deranked hard on this one for sure. One person referred me to Walmart's main customer service line. I called that number and spoke with someone who said he also couldn't help me. When it comes to item availability, they don't want us to discuss that for various reasons. Yup. One of the reasons is because they are concerned about crazy people, calling and trying to find something. And the Walmarts that do sell these are selling to their local community. So the average person knows they have them and they don't need to call and ask about it. The people who are asking are people who don't know where to get them and are trying to find it. And that's kind of odd because for most people, you live in an area where your Walmart sells a firearm, then likely you know somebody who owns firearms and they'll say like, oh, you can just go down to the Walmart. For somebody to call in, it shouldn't be, but to Walmart at least, seems like it may be a red flag. They say he declined to elaborate on this and said he knew of at least one location near me that didn't sell guns. I crossed that store off my list. The customer service representative advised me to call each store individually and find out whether it did sell. When I told him that I had spent more than an hour doing just that and that several stores weren't answering their phone, he said I could file a report with him concerning problems with the specific locations. It wasn't helpful. After hours of Googling and calling, I finally had a breakthrough and found a Walmart store that did sell firearms. She couldn't even just go. She had to call for hours. That's crazy to me. I think if you want to buy a product, you should be able to just call somebody and ask them. She said, someone answered the phone at the Supercenter in Chesterfield, Virginia. She transferred me to the sporting goods department where a woman on the line confirmed she could buy one. The store was 30 minutes away. I got in the car and plugged the address for Chesterfield Walmart into my phone. Later, when I contacted Walmart's media relation team about my difficulty, a spokesman pointed me to a website for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which maintains a list of all gun retailers by state. Oh, that's amazing. See, I didn't know that. And I bet a lot of conservatives and gun enthusiasts did know that. You learn something new every day. Isn't it important? Isn't it great that a journalist is now revealing this to people who didn't know that? Me, I learned something. She said she looked for the sporting goods department, found it about 100 steps from the entrance to the store. I spotted guns on display directly under a sign for the department. A selection of about 20 rifles, ranging from 159 to 474. The counter in front of the guns displayed pocket knives, binoculars, and digital night vision monoculars inside a locked case. The selection of guns was limited compared with nearby stores, which offered dozens of different kinds of firearms, including handguns. Walmart stopped selling them in the 90s, and they also removed the AR-15 in 2015. In prepared remarks last week, I'm not concerned about that. She says Walmart last year raised that there's a bunch of extra limitations that Walmart has, like you have to be 21, you need a green light background check, not just one void of red lights. She says we videotape the point of sale for firearms, only allow certain associates to sell them, and secure firearms in locking case with individual locks, among other measures. I told an employee that I wanted to buy a gun. They called for a manager. They then, so this is the best part. I want to just jump to the point. She says that Walmart faced a backlash, yada, yada. They sell air weapons. She was browsing the store. They say Walmart said it accounted for about 2% of all gun sales and 20% of sales of ammunition in the U.S. When it got time for her to buy the weapon, she said I could not because there were no authorized sellers scheduled to work. You can't just walk in and get one. A lot of people seem to think that's the case. You can't. The funny thing, too, is they don't sell AR-15s, but it's so silly because I'm sure many of these are semi-auto. It'd be absurd if they weren't. I don't know a lot about guns, but I assume many of them are not like... I'd be willing to bet they have semi-automatic rifles. They're not all like, lever action or bolt action. She said it could come back on Thursday, 2 days later. Well, here's the best part. She did come back. And then when she went to fill... she says, I drove another 30 minutes confident I would successfully buy a firearm. She was wrong. She arrived and she didn't realize the address on her ID did not match her actual address. So she couldn't do it. They asked her if there's a bunch of stuff in here and I want to make sure I get to the point. She says that, but I had only just finished printing my name when she stopped me and asked whether the address on my license matched my home address. I had moved since I obtained my license and they didn't match. That was a problem. In order to pass the background check, I would need to bring in a government-issued document with my correct address, such as a bill from a state-owned utility or car registration. She apologized, told me the rules were strict, and asked me to come back another time. I left the store empty-handed again. At this point, I decided to give up. Listen, in some states it is very easy. And I talked to a police academy trainer and a national best in sports shooting. I'm not sure what the terminology and everything, but it was this guy, he trains people. I got to sit in on a class, and we actually got to go shoot some various guns. Some were like 22s up to like a 45, I think. That was intimidating. I'd only ever fired a 9mm before. So I can't remember exactly what gun. I'm not a gun person, but I went through a range of, I think, 6 different handguns. And there were some that were super easy to fire. It was remarkably easy, and I was so surprised that it felt light. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a 22 of some sort. And it was a handgun, and it was really light and really easy. And my aim is like probably not that good, but not that bad. I hit the target, right? I was with Emily, who's doing the Subver stuff, and she got way better aim than I do. But we had to try it out, and I talked to this guy, and he said he thinks we do need to sit down and have a discussion about reform, like some new laws, because in some places it's way too easy, and in some places it's way too strict. And I said that's a good way, I guess, to look at it. I heard stories from people who were driving across state lines, moving from a legal place to a legal place, but not every state has an agreement. And so they've gotten charged with crimes for having a dismantled, weapon in their car. I know somebody in Chicago, he was going from like LA to some state, and he made that mistake. Look, the responsibility was on him. He should have known which states wouldn't permit it, and he got in trouble. So I think, what he was saying is that it shouldn't be as easy as it is in some places, and it shouldn't be as hard. So there's got to be like a happy medium where we are able to make sure people don't go nuts and use these in bad ways. The problem is criminal gonna criminal. So I don't know what the solution is. I think it's worth sitting down, and I think everyone agrees. And that's why I'm the milquetoast fence sitter. I don't think banning things ever solves the problem. Like prohibition doesn't work. It just creates a black market. So what we need to do is figure out perhaps like, I mentioned licensing before, some kind of like license or insurance. And then someone said, then why don't you get a license or insurance for your speech? And I get the point. It's a constitutional right. The right to bear arms will not be infringed. And I absolutely respect that. I do. So I think a conversation can be had, and I think there's a reason for respecting the Constitution for what it is. I do think a lot of the arguments I hear from the left are wrong. They talk about, but it's for a militia. No. Militia means an armed population who can come together in a time of emergency. Well, it's well regulated. Right. So when you have everyone on the block owning a firearm, nobody's going to invade you because you can snap your fingers and get them together, and they'll have weapons. That's the point. I don't care. Some people say it's to protect themselves from the government. I don't think so. I don't know if I'm right in my interpretation. I think it's specifically about as long as every American is armed, nobody can invade this place. It would be impossible. I mean, maybe California, maybe New York. But look, the point is, I'll wrap up. I don't want to make this one super long. I wanted to highlight that this is a really, really great piece of journalism because people on the left need to hear this, that you can't just walk in and snap your fingers and get a weapon. They don't understand that. They think it's so easy. They talk about loopholes that don't exist. It's not that easy because even people who sell are skittish about who they sell to. Excellent work by Haley Peterson. This is what journalists should be doing, challenging misconceptions and informing their communities. And I think if more people understood firearms, we'd have a real conversation about the problem because maybe it is mental health. But we're not going to be able to have that conversation until people on the left know the system. So we need journalists to do exactly this. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Podcast every day at 6:30 p.m. I'll see you next time.